Welcome to the Eric T Conversation. I'm Eric T. Today we're going to have some pretty interesting things to talk about. We got the East Wings that's being demolished. The left is going crazy over it because they're like so upset that he's going to restructure it, make it better than it ever was before, reinforce the beams, and it's going to look just like it did back in the old days. But they don't really care about that. They just want to bitch about whatever it is they got to bitch about. Next, we've got the NBA. We got a whole gambling crisis going on in the NBA. We got the Gambino crime family, we got the Genovese crime family, and a lot more. A bunch of NBA players got arrested. And how much money are we giving to other countries since 1945? That's as far as we can go back, because before that, it was just haywire about the money they were lending. How many countries have we actually loaned it to, and who gave it back or defaulted on us? Stick around. You just might learn something. Well, tonight's show is big. We're diving into three major stories shaping America. Number one, the historic demolition of the White House East Wing, making room for Trump's brand new state ballroom. Number two, we're taking a good deep look into every country that the U.S. has loaned money to or forgiven debt since 1945 and what that means for taxpayers. And number three, the FBI's massive gambling sting that just rocked the NBA and exposed that the mob is actually here and they've modernized themselves. Let's start where power lives, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. As of this week, the East Wing of the White House is being demolished, completely torn down to make room for a massive 90,000 square foot expansion, the new Donald J. Trump State Ballroom. The demolition started October 20th and is already visible from Pennsylvania Avenue. Heavy machinery is ripping through the roof, the walls. The original 1942 foundation that Roosevelt put in there has been completely ripped out, and it's drawing crowds of tourists every single day. This new ballroom will seat almost 1,000 guests, dwarfing the East Room's old 200-person limit. It'll feature Corinthian columns, gold accents, and covered ceilings, a design straight out of Mar-a-Lago meets the White House. And get this, it's not costing anybody anything. But it went from $200 million to $250 million. Now the total expenditures is going to be about $300 million. But here's a twist. Not $1 is coming from taxpayers. The entire project is funded by private donors, including names like Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, Lockheed Martin, Coinbase, and the Edelson family, just to name a few. Critics say the bill bypassed the National Capital Planning Commission, claiming Trump ignored the normal federal approvals. But under the current law, site prep isn't covered by those reviews, meaning demolition went ahead already, legally, but controversially. So once you rip off the building, you're like, where you at now? Like, listen, now it's ripped down. We got to build it, right? So that's what they're doing. Historians and Democrats are furious, saying it overwhelms the White House's classic balance. But Trump supporters say it's the first real modernization since the People's House in almost nearly 80 years. It's worth remembering. The last time the East Wing saw a total rebuild was under Franklin Roosevelt in 1942. It was also controversial, but the problem is the bedrooms and the foundation started to give way because I think it was built in 1802 or something. So it was time to restructure it. Because it was wartime, that addition also hid the Presidential Emergency Operations Center, the secret bunker that is still used today. Pretty cool, right? This time, the rebuild adds a modern tech, seismic reinforcement, smart systems, and an updated bunker access. So we're taking the old wood, reinforcing it, and making it better. This is just like any time you decide to remodel an old house. You get in there and you realize, well, that's got to go too. And that's what they're doing. They're modernizing the entire structure to make it last. These things have to occur no matter what you do or what you build. And that's what they're doing to this White House, east side of the White House. And that's okay. Those critics that are complaining about it is perfectly fine. So whether you hate it or you love it, this marks a new era for the White House. It's going to have more luxury, more power, and more Trump-designed branding like he likes, better than anything we've seen since the Truman renovation. And guess what? It's going to have Trump's name on it, and he likes it. Now we're going to follow the money. All the money that the United States has given to all these other countries, and it's about time we start looking at it, because the money that we just gave to Argentina for $40 billion, I guess it is now, to trade for a currency exchange with the United States for our dollars, this has been happening for over hundreds of years. And the reason why we don't have all the accurate numbers from way back when is because back when people were loaning money, it was corporations that lent money. People like J.D. Rockefeller let the money to these other countries. And it was a huge cabal of organized crime, pretty much, which helped fund all these other countries. And they defaulted on billions of dollars of loans back then. So we have a trace since like 1945. And everyone's talking about all that money we spent, but very few realize how long this has been going on and how much our wealth of the United States actually leaves our country. All these countries that get our money, most of them either default or we just forgive them. And we're not talking about aid packages. These are direct loans or cancellation of debts, often in the billions. According to the Treasury and IMF records since 1945, which is the International Monetary Fund, the U.S. has loaned or forgiven hundreds of billions to foreign nations. Let's break it down. Mexico, in 1995, the U.S. offered a $20 billion emergency fund. Mexico only used $11.5 billion and repaid it in full by 1997. In Iraq, 2004 to 2005, $4.1 billion was forgiven entirely after the fall of Saddam Hussein. Egypt, in 1991, roughly $7 billion in military debt was wiped clean. Jordan, 1995 to 1997, about $700 million forgiven to stabilize the Middle East. Liberia, Somalia, Afghanistan, combined cancellations exceeded $2.5 billion through global debt relief. Ukraine, from 2014 to 2016, $3 billion in loan guarantees, meaning the U.S. didn't even reimburse the money, but agreed to cover defaults if they happened. So if they didn't pay their bills, we were going to cover it. Tunisia, in 2012 to 2016, similar, $1.5 billion in guarantees, no direct cash, but full backing. Here's how the Treasury classifies all these loans. Mexico, $11.5 billion repaid. Iraq, $4.1 billion forgiven. Egypt, $7 billion forgiven. Jordan, $700 million forgiven. Somalia, $1.1 billion forgiven. Liberia, $400 million forgiven. Afghanistan, $1 billion forgiven. Ukraine, $3 billion guaranteed, not actually loan, we just covered their losses. Tunisia, $1.5 billion guaranteed, again, covered their loss. All this information comes from the Treasury and the State Department. So if you don't believe me, you can look it up. This is the thing that's going on. We continue to give money to these foreign countries. Why? To make them feel better? Hundreds of billions of dollars leaves our country for loans or whatever, and it never comes back. Can you imagine if we use that money for the United States infrastructure on these major cities that we have? Atlanta, New York, Memphis, LA. If we use that money for these cities, they would look like Taj Mahal. They would have streets of gold if we put that money back to the United States. I don't think any dollar should leave this country until all of our cities are wrapped in gold. That's how I feel. A lot of people call me MAGA, but I am an American first guy. I don't believe $1 should go anywhere. I'm sorry, it may sound inhumane, but when we have homeless veterans, kids that are starving, that money should go here to the United States and help build this country up before we send $1 anywhere else. I don't care about any other countries but the good old US of A. And you can tell by that report I just read to you, that money has just been vanished in thin air. They're not paying us back. So Argentina, the $40 billion we gave them, I tried to defend in some sort of way, but I gotta be honest, I'm not happy about that money we gave them either. They're not gonna give us any money back. They're gonna default on it and we're gonna forgive their loan. Now they're gonna give us free cattle because Trump just said we're gonna probably get our meat from Argentina now. So let's get some free trade with them and start getting this cattle in here, get our beef up here so we can start getting those beef prices down. Because right now, by the time Thanksgiving or Christmas comes around, beef is gonna be up another 50 cents. So if that's the plan, great. That's the plan. But we need to get something that these people are giving us, something tangible, because giving us useless pesos doesn't do shit for the United States. Now, most Americans don't realize many of these debts are wiped off the books quietly through the IMF and the Paris Club negotiations, meaning taxpayer-backed loans never come home. And when we forgive $4 billion to Iraq, $7 billion to Egypt, that's the same as saying we're going to forego 60,000 miles of new interstate paving or free college for 80,000 college students. Now, I'm not a leftist. I'm not a socialist by any means, but when you look at it in those ways and those terms, you realize that all that money that we give to these foreign countries could have stayed right here and helped our citizens out. I think a lot of people would appreciate a free college. I think we would all appreciate some roads without potholes in them. So the money needs to start staying here. And I hope America starts realizing, starts voting people that are going to make those decisions that are right for America. So the next time you hear a politician talk about budget cuts, remember, we're loaning and forgiving billions of dollars abroad while fighting over nickels right here in our own country. This is how global influence is bought, not just through military bases, but through financial leverage, and every dollar is written off has a political purpose. Don't forget that. Now let's get into the story everyone's talking about today. The FBI's takedown of the NBA and Mafia gambling networks. Federal agents have arrested over 30 people, including NBA head coach Chauncey Billups, Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, and former coach Damon Jones. The FBI says the operation stretched from New York to Miami to Vegas and beyond, with 4 of New York's 5 families back in action. The Gambinos, the Genovese, the Bonanno, and the Lucchese families are all implicated in this huge operation. The joint sting, called Operation Full Court Press, I guess because it's basketball, exposed 2 major schemes: a rigged high-stakes poker game using X-ray tables, marked decks, and tech-enhanced contact lenses, stuff that's straight out of Mission Impossible and James Bond. Insider sports betting, NBA players leaking information to mob-connected players. And insider sports betting, NBA players were leaking injury information to mob-connected bettors. Each family had their own role. The Gambino family handled the muscle and the collections. God, this is great. The Genovese family washed the money through construction fronts. The Bonanno provided the casino tech, and Lucchese handled loans and fronted the money. Isn't that great? Say what you want. But the mob working together, I don't know. Something about that just warms my heart. It just warms my heart. The FBI director put it bluntly: no jersey is above the law. Over $25 million in illicit gains, $8.3 million in seized cash, dozens of luxury items were confiscated. Both Billups and Rozier are suspended indefinitely. The NBA has promised lifetime bans if the charges stick. They ain't got nothing on Pete Rose, guys. Poor Pete Rose, man. He still can't get in the Hall of Fame, and he did none of this shit. But here's the deeper point. Sports betting has exploded, legalization, and with it came new cracks in integrity. The same digital systems that made betting accessible also made it hackable. That's right. The Hard Rock casino apps that you guys like to sport bet on, the mob figured out how to get in through the back door. So the mob just didn't vanish. It evolved. They traded the backroom bookie for data servers and shell corporations and LLCs. And if this happened in basketball, who's far behind? Maybe the NFL, MLB, the WNBA, or maybe the UFC. Who knows? Tons of sports can be involved in this. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. So from the White House rebuild to America's billion-dollar IRUs to the NBA's corruption case, tonight's episode, I think, is one of my most fun. Who builds it, who pays it, and who gambles it away? So whether it's politics, finance, or the court, the game is the same. Control the money, and you control the story. Well, that's it for tonight. Join me next time for a little chit-chat, some observations, and some good old-fashioned conversation. The mob is back, baby. The mob is back.